Welcome back to our tutorial, and this is lesson 2. And in this one we are going to be adding in a voiceover, some background music, a special effects sound, just a whoosh, and we are also going to do some titling. So let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add in the voiceover, and all we're going to do is say, "Hey Nicholas, catch." Okay. Now the way to do this is we obviously are going to do it in the audio timeline here. So what we're going to do is all we have to do is literally click this little microphone down here. However, one thing you want to do just to make sure is I'm going to mute my speakers because my microphone is right here. We'll get terrible feedback if we don't mute our speakers. So it'll be okay for you if you're listening through earbuds. So, but right now for me with speakers, have to mute them. So let's give it a shot. So I'm just going to start it here at the very beginning, and it's going to give me a 3-second countdown as soon as I hit the mic, and then at the 3 seconds I'm just going to say, "Hey Nicholas, catch." "Hey Nicholas, catch." And then spacebar stops it, and then it stops the record. Okay, and you notice there is a little bit of uptake there at the beginning. So if we take a look at this, there is some space at the beginning, and I want to remove that. Right now, let's listen to it just to see what it sounds like. I'm going to turn up the volume just a touch. Hopefully it's not too loud. "Hey, Nicholas, catch." It's perfect. Okay. The only thing is I don't want it to have that long pause at the beginning, so I'm just going to take that out by moving this here. You notice that the cursor changed to a red arrow with the line pointing to the right, and that allows us to alter the size of it. And then I can just drag this to the beginning just to make sure. And then just to tighten it up, I'm just going to bring in the right side a bit just because there is no sound there. No sense taking up that space. And I will hit the up arrow key to bring it back to the beginning. Hit spacebar. Let's take
"Hey Nicholas, catch."
And that's perfect. That's exactly where I wanted it. Now, if I want to add in a music track, which is this one here, all I have to do for that is drag it below on the other audio line. And you notice this one as well has a pause at the beginning. So again, we're going to bring this in like this so that the music starts right away. Okay, and it's probably going to be too loud, so let's just give it a listen.
"Hey Nicholas, catch."
Yes, it's definitely a little bit too loud for the video that we're looking at here. So the way to fix that, and I'm going to expand this a little bit just so you can see. One of my favorite keystrokes in all of Premiere is the tilde key, which is in the upper left-hand corner. What it does is any selected section of the workspace will be expanded full screen if you hit the tilde key. So if I want to show you the sequence in full screen, I just hit the tilde key, and now I've got it full screen. Okay. Now this is great because what I want to show you is if you want to adjust the volume of something, it's really easy if you just expand the timeline there like this. And in reality, what you can do is, let's take a look there, and then all you have to do is grab this bar and drag it down. Now, if you want to make it even easier, if you hit the audio section of the Premiere menus up here, then you can actually just click on the section that you want, which is this one. It's the A3, and all I have to do is drag this down to reduce the volume. Now in this case, let's drag it down to about -7. And let's listen to it.
"Hey Nicholas, catch."
And that's much better. And even this one, which is the A2 timeline, I can reduce this one as well, but just a touch. Okay, let's listen to it now.
"Hey Nicholas, catch."
And that works very, very well. Another thing you may want to do is fade the music in as the video begins. Now, the way you do that is quite simple. if we go into our tools here and select the pen tool, this allows us to put in what are called keyframes. And we're going to put it on the volume line in this audio track. And what you do is you just click once, and there's one keyframe, and click a second time. Now, why you have to click twice is you're going to move back to the pointer tool. And if I grab that one that's closer to the beginning and I drag, you can see that now I've altered the volume from the beginning at nothing going up to where we want it to be. So as you can see, when we go in,
Hey, Nicholas, catch.
it fades in. If we want to fade in longer, all I have to do is move it down. And if I move it down, there.
Hey, Nicholas, catch.
And then it fades in a bit longer. So it's a nice way to bring up the sound. Quite simple, actually. Okay, now we're going to add in some text. So, and all we're going to do is put in a title at the beginning and some credits at the end. So let's put the titles in at the beginning. So we hit the graphics tab here, and you can see we have some pre-selected items here that you could literally just drag over top on the video line and just replace the text. And they are nicely laid out, and so you could use those for a quick title. However, what we're going to do is we're just going to create our own, just so you can see the tools, and all you have to do is click the T here and go into the canvas and just click. That opens up a window, and I'm going to call this one The Amazing Nicholas. Okay, and now that is a serifed font. I'm going to triple click this to select all of it, which I don't recommend on video. I like sans serif fonts, so I'm just going to go up to Arial. Okay, and choose that. Now to increase the size, if you go to the slider here, I like using the slider just because I can visually see how big it gets. And I'd like that text to be a little thicker. And the color that I'm going to select, and this is a little bit counterintuitive, I want the color of the text not to be white. I actually want it to be the same color as the background. So to do that, I'm going to select the fill here and click the eyedropper tool and then click here. And now that's made the text the same color as the background, which you think may blend in, and it would if I didn't do another thing, which is add a drop shadow. So if I click on here, it gives me all the tools for a drop shadow. I'm going to make the drop shadow very dark, just so you can see it better. And you can see there's an offset here, and I'm just going to offset it so you can see it fairly clearly. And there we go. And you may decide that, and there's also a blurring that you can have on it if I want to add a little bit of blur, if I want to do that. Okay. And then we can see how that looks. I may not like it as much. It looks a little too far out. I'm going to bring that in. There. Okay. Now to take a look at it, I'll take the pointer tool and just move it down. And there we go. Okay. And this one, obviously, it automatically dropped over top on the sequence, and the sequence is quite large here. So what I'm going to do is, let's tilde that open for a second. I'm going to bring that title back just for the first clip. Okay. Okay, and now if I play that through,
Hey, Nicholas, catch.
the only other thing I might want to do with that title is just fade it out and fade it in. And so the way you can do that is if you go to the Effects tab and you click on Video Transitions and you click the Dissolve tab, you can actually cross-dissolve it in and cross-dissolve it out. And so I'm going to cross-dissolve it in. It's quite long, so I'm going to shorten that cross-dissolve. And then I'll cross-dissolve out. And the same thing. I will shorten that cross-dissolve. There we go. Now let's take a look.
Hey, Nicholas, catch.
I like that much better. And as I said, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add in some titles at the end, which are closing credits. So let's do that. So we're at the end. Okay, and all I'm going to do is go back to the Graphics tab. And go to the end, click T, And I'm going to click here. I'm going to type credits. And that's the perfect size for my credits. And it's actually the same color as it was before because it's still on that fill. This one, actually, I'm going to leave it that color. And I am going to create another one that says thrower. And in this case, I want the text to be much smaller than that. So much smaller, probably about that big. I don't want it to be bold. Okay. And I'm going to take the shadow off. And so thrower. And then I'm going to have catcher. And myself, cameraman. Now to retain the exact, and I'm going to actually make this right justified. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, copy, paste. I've got two of them. And the reason why I did that is because I want to make sure that the fonts are the same and in the same location. And all I'm going to do is left justify this one and put in the names. So I'll put in Alexander, Nicholas, and Peter. There we go. Now, let's just move them together. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'll center this. You'll see that there's a center button for that, so it'll center it on screen. And then these ones, it's a little bit harder to center two objects that are basically you want to be in the center. So I'm going to put these two here like this. And what I'll do is I'll align them. You can align them by doing this one. There we go. Now they're aligned, except if I chose center, they'd go over top of each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move them as a group and try and put it centered over top of them like this. And so I like it like that. So if I click off this section, you'll notice that this completely changed. It shows the objects that I've got here. And I also have the option to roll. So if I click roll, it also has start off screen and then end off screen. So it's a pure rolling credits scenario. So let's take a look at that. So perfect. Now all we have to do to finish up is we're going to cross dissolve this in. So I'm just going to go to effects again, grab that cross dissolve between the two, and a little finishing touch at the end too. Let's just click on our timeline and hit the tilde key here. And I'm going to expand this a bit. And you can see that the audio goes a little bit too long. And now just as a sense of closure on a video, you kind of play the music past the last bit of video. So that's what I'm going to do here. Let's just go back and take a look, see how that looks. Is that long enough? Maybe a little bit longer. Let's take a look. Yep, that's good. Now what you're going to do is obviously you're going to fade that out. And again, the way we fade, we hit the pen tool. Click. I'm going to click one about here and one there. And then go back to the selection or pointer. Grab that. Drag it down to nothing. And let's take a look. Very nice. And it's always good to look at the entire video again. So let's go back to the beginning on our timeline here. Okay, and this time I'll click on the canvas and we'll go full screen and take a look. Okay. Well, I noticed one fix that I want to make. and this I probably should have done this in the previous lesson, is it's just too long before he turns, once he catches the glasses. So what I want to do is I want to cut that down. So I want to turn right about there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that in, and then I can just drag the rest of this in. Now normally I could ripple delete this, but since I've got the auto here, it won't let me do that, and that's where you right click on it and you bring the clip in. But this should be much better. Let's take a look. Yes, I like that much better. Now the only thing I'll have to do is I'll have to bring the audio in just a bit. So let's bring that audio in. Have to bring that keyframe in as well. Bring that keyframe in to nothing. Let's go right there and right there. Okay, now the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add in a small sound effect. Okay, and the sound effect is just going to be a sound that is made as the glasses are thrown. So there's a little whoosh sound effect here. So if you double click this and you play it, you get this little whoosh sound. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab another track, and you notice there doesn't seem to be another track here, but what I'm going to do is if I drag this in and drop here, it automatically places it into a new track. Okay, and so where I want to place this is exactly when he's about to release. So I want it to be just as it's released from his hand. So right about there. So what I want to do is move this sound effect right to there, just where he releases the glasses. So let's watch that.
Hey, Nicholas, catch.
Much better. And there's the completed video so far. Okay? So let's recap. What we've done in this video is we have done a voiceover. We have added in a musical background. We have put in a sound effect. We have put in an opening title sequence and a closing scrolling credit sequence. Okay? In the next video, we'll be doing a slight modification to fix it up even further.